All right, well, we just saw Superman, and James Gunn has done it again. Right now, this might be one of the best pure comic book superhero films that I've seen. Now, obviously, there's a different style and tone to this one than some of the other ones that I enjoy. This does feel a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy with a different type of character, because obviously the Guardians are very flawed individuals. They're a flawed team, and Superman, his flaw is being too nice at times. At least that's kind of what you understand. And we all know the big drama around Man of Steel and whether or not Superman would kill to save people, all that kind of stuff. That's what he has to deal with. This is about Superman. So there are a lot of plot holes in this film. Like a ton. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you are trying to think about this in reality terms. That's not what this movie is, and you can still enjoy it with a slight change to your perception of the reality. This could never happen in the way that Nolan's Batman could happen, for example. There's just no way for some of these things to exist, and also just the way characters behave around what are effectively supernatural, at least in terms of the amazing tech. So advanced tech seems like it's magic. That's sort of what this feels like, which is fine. I liked it. I really enjoyed all of it. And so all I'm trying to say is you got to be prepared for that tonal and style shift away from the realism. Not that Marvel is in the realm of realism anymore. They started with that with Iron Man, and here it's borderline magic as well. But I still had fun. The biggest plot hole, I'll just get this out of the way. So Lex Luthor's obviously the villain, but he has henchmen that are kind of sub-bosses, because you can't really fight Lex Luthor. He's a human. Superman would kill him with his pinky finger. The villain that Superman has to fight is very strong and powerful, but the way that character fights doesn't make any sense either, because Lex Luthor is calling out in real time moves to do, like he's a coach ringside of a UFC or boxing match, or he's like playing a video game and like getting his character to do moves. That wouldn't work at all. That doesn't make any sense. It's just for kind of a comedy slash a little bit of a twist on the end, but like it doesn't make any sense, and that's fine. It doesn't need to, because what they're doing there is still linking that sub boss to Lex Luthor, saying that this is still the main villain. Don't get sidetracked. It doesn't make sense. You can complain about it all you want. I still think it's a fun scene. I think the fight scenes are well done. There are some amazing other super being characters, and I didn't know that going in, so I try to go in not knowing a ton. I think it's neat that we're not redoing Smallville, or we're not redoing Origins. We are right in the thick of it, similar to like the comics of a lot of these characters. You jump right in, and then you get backstory, and we kind of get that in this film. They do throw in some backstory. If you've been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, 5 decades, and you don't know what this character's about or what their deal is, they throw in a little bit for you, which I also appreciate, because I do think that's an important aspect to this character, to be in touch with his foster parents, still be very committed to them despite really leaning into this other version of himself that was, in his mind, his destiny from his birth parents. I'm not going to get too much into that. The movie goes into it, which is great. I love the Fortress of Solitude. I love the retro robot minions. Like, that's good visuals right there. It looked good. This is some of the good CGI. A lot of CGI sucks. This is good CGI. Obviously, there's a moment towards the end. I don't like the CGI. How do I say this without spoilers? There's a scene. There's actually a bunch of scenes where like there's like a hole in the ground. I guess I'll phrase it like that. And I don't like the look of it at all. It looks like Minecraft to me. It looks bad. Borderline, I almost thought I was watching some weird bootleg copy, but I was in theaters watching in well, not quite IMAX, but kind of IMAX. Let's touch on some of the controversy. James Gunn saying that this is a political movie. It is. All good movies are political. And if you don't know that, And if you don't see that, I don't know what you're watching. I don't know how you're watching. I cannot comprehend how one could watch almost anything and think it is completely isolated in a vacuum away from the real world, which is tied to political and social conventions. So, for example, in this movie, Lex Luthor is a billionaire and he's hurting people. That is literally the comics. Okay, that I haven't read them all. I haven't even read that many, but that is just what is going on in the world of Superman. And you can read that and say, "Hey, that was a different era. Maybe I don't agree with it now." But you can't come away not understanding that Lex Luthor being a billionaire is part of the problem with that character. The fact that he has the political and financial power that he does to mess with even Superman is kind of a problem. And this movie gets into how big of a problem it could be when you have individuals with so much money that they rival countries. And so how you come away from that, regardless of where you actually stand on the issue of taxation, of whether or not billionaires should exist, how you feel about billionaires, how they interact with the rest of their country that they're a part of and the civilians there. Regardless of all of that, the movie is clearly showing that this is a problem. So, yes, if that is considered woke, then sure. But to me, that is literally just showing the characters that were written that people apparently say they know and love. I don't know if they know them. I don't know if they've ever loved them. I don't understand what people actually want from some of these characters. From any time a book gets adapted and people start criticizing it, there's always some insane criticisms that make no sense, as if someone's never read it. The biggest one, obviously, for me being stuff from Lord of the Rings. People seem to not understand that at all. In this case, I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but even I know that he is adopted by farmers in Kansas in a town called Smallville, and then he goes to Metropolis, which is the big city nearby, and becomes a reporter, Clark Kent. And so for people to take that just being in the movie and getting mad at it, I don't understand. What did you want Superman to say about it? He isn't I don't even know what people want from that. So again, I don't know where the criticism is actually coming from there, because it doesn't make any sense. Clearly, the criticism is coming because real world events are happening in the United States that seem to be on the opposing side to Superman, the hero. And it's hard for people to reconcile that, because Superman is behaving exactly as he was written. I think you just don't like Superman, and that's fine. You can go watch Punisher stuff, I guess, or I don't know, a lot of people like Thanos for some reason. So yeah, you've got your stuff that you can go watch. They're the villains, though. You gotta still reconcile with that. The dog, what Krypton? Yeah, he looks different than the comics. In the comics, he's like a golden retriever, but white or something like that. And here he's just this little kind of scruffy looking dog. I don't care. I think this dog, the behavior and the look of this dog fits the mood of this film better than what the comic books show. I believe in the comics, the dog is a lot better behaved. And so you have to make a judgment call when you're making films like this, or movies, I guess I should call. These aren't films, according to Scorsese, which, I'm kind of inclined to agree, but that's another day. This dog works for this film. It's silly, it's goofy, and it's cute. And that's what you need that character to be. And Nicholas Hoult is one of the best Lex Luthors we've ever seen. There's a few scenes where he's stealing the show in the right way as the villain, in that it's cool but also pathetic. It's so hard to pull off. I saw this post recently that he might be the most underrated actor, and then there's a big debate about whether or not he's actually underrated, because a lot of people, friends of mine and producers on this show, have loved him for a long time. I've liked him for a little bit. Like I enjoy a lot of the films that he's in, and I enjoy his acting. I just had never I had not given him enough time of day to showcase what he can do, but recently he's really popped off. Want to give props there. He played Lex Luthor exactly what you need him to be, which is both powerful, menacing, and pathetic at times. Like that's what you need from this guy, and he nails it. There are basically every scene he's in, he is nailing what the character is needed. There's a scene where you don't realize how he is intimidating, and there's a moment where it all coalesces and it's played perfectly, where you did not realize how real this character was going to get because of how superficial he seemed at first, which was all by design. It's brilliant. Again, try not to spoil. During an interrogation scene, you'll know it when you see it. It's amazing and scary. They're throwing you already into a superhero-esque world, which again, fine. I like starting in. I don't like the build up. We don't need to do Marvel 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever reboot with DC. Throw us in. We already know superheroes and all that stuff. Get us going and get us to our big coming together moment against like some world-ending thing. So here we start off. We already got superheroes who are like dealing with some of the other stuff. It almost kind of has a One Punch Man vibe at times, because there's a scene in which Superman is not fighting a monster, but it's happening in the background because he doesn't care. That monster's too weak for him, and it gave me a good little One Punch type of vibe there. I like it, and honestly, these other superheroes are interesting, cool, and you get there's a power level variance there. One thing Marvel never did right was fully recognize how useless some of their characters are. We're looking at you, Hawkeye or Hawkman or Black Widow. Useless. They don't need to exist. I don't care. I don't want to hear bring your hate. I don't care. It is true. They only need like 3 guys. The rest of them, garbage. And maybe the Hulk. Maybe. I don't even think the Hulk is needed when you have Thor and you have Iron Man. And then, yeah, it's maybe Hulk, maybe Captain America. I don't know who else. But like that's all you really need. I guess Doctor Strange, there's your 3. Like, there are some characters that do not need to be a part of this anymore. Spider-Man doesn't need to be there. He doesn't bring anything extra to the table. They don't do anything. Here, we already are establishing that that's the case. And it's kind of fun, and I like it. Also, there's color in this film. Where has the color gone in movies lately where it all seems like they've color graded it to barely more than black and white. Like, it's awful. What is happening with film color? Get back to, like, colorful films. I don't understand. Obviously, there's a time and place to have that lack of color. One of my favorite films, The Lighthouse, is in black and white. And that, I loved it. But you don't need every film to look like that. The Batman, it looks black and white. Now, I like that movie too, but that's Batman. Batman can be this neo-noir, lacking color, a tonal shift to a more serious, a more reserved character. Like, you can have that, but then you also need to bring these other color elements. And honestly, the only Marvel movies doing that were Thor and Guardians. The rest of them are black and white. So I'm glad we're getting back to some color. So Superman, the controversies don't make any sense. It looks fantastic. It is fun. Yes, there's plot holes galore. Like, I could go on and on and on about these plot holes, and I don't care. It's a superhero movie. The whole thing's a plot hole. So just sit back and enjoy it. There are literally some plot holes that are just jokes. Like, it's just a joke. It doesn't, because obviously you wouldn't do that if you had the kind of power that these guys have, but they do it anyway because it's a joke. Like, it's supposed to be silly and fun and entertaining, while at the same time getting into some of the moral and philosophical dilemmas or ideas of the original characters. So that's what it is. And they pull it off in one of the best ways possible. I didn't know if you could make a superhero movie about Superman and not have it be boring. Downright boring. At least with Iron Man, because he's a human and he's flawed, you have something to build on there, but not Superman. With Superman, you got nothing other than there is a fun little ego bit where he is kind of debating Lois Lane and he gets all flustered. It's kind of good because that ego there, where he obviously knows better than the humans, but we don't like being told that. And so he needs to learn how to better interact with humans. And again, one of his flaws. Like, he wants to see the good in people and wants to help, but sometimes people don't want that kind of help. Anyway, let me know what you thought down below. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this DC universe. We'll see what we get next.